And so I understand that one of the speakers that you had sent to me with a little bit of disagreement in terms of whether they should be on the budget, on the schedule or not. So I'd like to be able to see what you think.
Well, actually, I'd like to step back further and just discuss the original budget that we had discussed for the conference in total. If we're able to agree on Dr. Fletcher, I think we'd be able to see that we'd have less people than originally anticipated. So it would reduce the overall cost of the entire conference, which would maybe make you more likely to agree to my budget. But then more importantly, I think we should agree to Dr. Fletcher because of the reputation that she would bring to our conference, and we'd more likely to get more buzz and more marketing out of it. So overall, it would be a net gain for our company. And so I'm just looking for a little bit of cooperation from your end to see where we can meet in the middle.
So thank you for voicing this. It helps me understand where you're coming from. I mean, I definitely agree with you that being able to generate that buzz, be able to bring the right people in as speakers, be able to bring the right people in as attendees, is a great reflection both for you, for me, and the company. And I definitely understand what you're saying about the cost. My concern is that I really want, because this is your program, I want it to be able to flourish. I mean, you're doing great work with our Western Division, and I want to make sure that this division really is able to shine. So as the VP for marketing, what I can give you to be able to satisfy those goals that you have, I definitely want to see about trying to meet you there. My concern for you is just that Dr. Fletcher, because I've had her on 2 separate occasions, my concern is that because she hasn't risen to our expectations, she would follow that same trend and disappoint you and the attendees who go to see her. And so it would actually make it more difficult for us to be able to bring people back next year. In addition, it would hurt your reputation and also mine in the companies. And so I was wondering, what do you think about this? Could you give me maybe a list of 3 speakers to replace her, Dr. Fletcher, that you believe that you feel comfortable with putting in front of other people?
Well, of course, we could discuss other alternatives to Dr. Fletcher, but my main concern is that what Dr. Fletcher is an expert at. In our focus of our software company and our focus of this conference is actually what she's an expert on. So maybe as the theme was different from last year and the year before, she might be more critical and be more involved in actually spreading the message of what this conference is actually about, which is sort of different from the previous years. And then mainly, more than anything, if it's not the speaker, then the next speaker, I'd like to bring it to your attention that I do need a lot of help involved with getting this conference up and going. As you know, we have to reach this deadline in the next 2 weeks. So as I've already moved forward with Dr. Fletcher, I already know that she's willing to commit, she's willing to put in the effort. We've already discussed about the plans and how she could maybe tailor herself to the intricacies of our conference. But more importantly, I do need some help to get everything done in the next 2 weeks so we can start publishing it on the website to confirm our conference. So waiting for another 3 lists of potential speakers would just take more time, and we just won't be able to meet our deadline.
Okay. And I think you're going to bring up a great point regarding the deadline coming up in a couple of weeks. And I know that that may have been complicated by my slower response to both your requests for the moral support and also for the speaker that you sent to me, I believe also a few weeks ago. And I definitely agree that being able to make these decisions quickly and swiftly are going to be both best for making sure the conference is a success, but also being able to help facilitate your work overseeing the Western Division. And so my concern is that because you need a decisive answer, my concern is that if we make an answer, make a decision too hasty, then it would backfire on all the other times of the work that you've been putting into it. So what I'd like to be able to see is, could you describe to me how best I can help you meet this deadline for the rest of the conference? So that way, as we discuss about the speakers, we can also figure out are there other pressing issues, so that way it can lighten up our ability to be able to make the right decision for Dr.
Well,
Fletcher.
to make this deadline, not only do I have to manage the demands of the conference, but I also need to deal with the demands of the actual Western Division, of other projects that are simultaneously going on. So I'd love for your help in hiring at least a part-time employee. I know we've discussed this before, but now as the conference is getting closer and closer, the demand for extra hands on this project would be enormous. And so with an extra pair of hands to help actually just focus on the needs of the conference, I could go back to doing my job, which is managing other parts of the Western Division. So that was one initial problem. And then secondly, what I would love for is a confirmation of, in a timely fashion, in the sense that if we could make a decision of the speaker in the next closing of this business week. So then that would give us enough time to put it up on our website and push it so that within the end of next week, our website and all the marketing material would be up and ready so we can start pushing it. Does that give you enough of the information that you were looking for?
That's fantastic, thank you.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that that a part-time person to be able to help with the conference, I think that's definitely something that we can be able to pull in.
Okay.
And I believe also that what you brought about the information getting approved in a timely fashion is also critical. This actually speaks to one of my needs too, namely, in order to be able to facilitate my support for your division. And granted, because I also have to oversee other divisions, it's a little time restricted, but because I want to be able to make sure you get the adequate support in the time that you need it, I'd really like to be able to see if I can be involved in the planning process such that you don't have to worry about sending a report on to me and a few weeks later you get an answer. So
absolutely.
So
I mean, one of your main concerns was how Dr. Fletcher would be able to make her speeches from before more unique and tailored to this conference now. If you'd like to be a part of our conference call with her, we could set it up where you can discuss what was the downfalls of the last type of conferences and why we should give her another chance this time. And then maybe we can meet halfway and you'll understand why I feel like she's more fit for this conference instead of previous times. If that would suit your schedule, we could arrange for that.
Okay. And I believe that could be a helpful suggestion. My concern is that if we do that, it won't be able to facilitate your goal of being able to have a decision by the end of the week because I've seen Dr. Fletcher, though, on the past two occasions, even though, like you mentioned, she is a great expert in the field, her ability to be able to communicate her knowledge is not up to where I believe you're hoping to be able to bring in the right people. And so in order to be able to have that decision made for you by the end of the week so you can get everything up on board, what do you think about this? What I can do is I can pull the suggestions and pull the other people that we brought in our other divisions to different conferences that they've done. I can give them to you, and from there, if you would like to select people, what I can do is then approve and have that decision for you by the end of the week.
So do you feel that, as of right now, you would not be able to confirm Dr. Fleming for this conference?
That would be something that I would not be able to do at this point because I want to make sure that your conference really is able to succeed and shine in your division.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, if there's nothing really that I can help change your opinion of that matter, then of course then we should look at alternatives. I just am concerned about what our image is going to be in front of our partners in this conference because they were already quite excited about having her because, like I said, it's very different from how she presented before and how she's expected to present now. But again, it would be great if I could help you can meet me halfway and we can discuss with Dr. Fleming and see how we could make it different and maybe include her in one of the alternative options of the list. But hopefully we'd be able to reach something in the next week or so because I'm afraid that if we bring in alternatives, we'll never be able to confirm a keynote speaker for this conference at all.
I definitely think that's a legitimate point. And what I'd be willing to do is, and I'd like to see what you think about this, because you're right, being able to have the partners and establish and continue to develop that rapport with our company is definitely critical in both of our interests. What we can do is, because we have these other divisions who brought in the similar speakers for the conferences, we already have their support and their knowledge of what we're trying to do as part of a larger company. And so because of that, I definitely see that as being a plus for you, being able to facilitate a decisive decision by the end of the week. Further, the point you made about having Dr. Fletcher involved, I think that's something that we can definitely look into and what I would be very much welcome to as we help to bring in this part-time person. Whenever you have a free moment, maybe in the next few weeks, if you would like to be able to keep Dr. Fletcher in the loop maybe over the next couple of years, I would definitely be open to being on these conference calls with you as we look toward seeing if there's another avenue or a different capacity that we can have Dr. Fletcher in, maybe not necessarily having her as a speaker but having her in a role still involved in the conference to where she's able to
I
facilitate.
think that would be a perfect option. Instead of maybe her being the keynote speaker, we can put her on a panel.
That'd be great.
So her expertise is still going to be included, but we can also keep in other branches
Right.
and being involved in the conference. I think that would be definitely doable. And so right now, I'm assuming that what you need from me is a restructuring of our budget. So would I expect that we would have a quick turnaround in this time where if I draft a budget within the next 2-3 days, and if I submit it to you with a quick turnaround, we'd be able to restructure, get a part-time position hired, so we can have everything done in the next 2 weeks? I know I'm being ambitious, but hopefully you understand the urgency of the situation.
And I definitely see it as not only the track record that you developed in your time here at the Western Division, but also the fact that in order to be able to have that better partnership, facilitate meeting of your objectives, I believe that as you kind of like sink me in with these conference calls, I think that in addition to that, for me to be able to give you those quicker turnarounds to be something that's not only in your interests, but also as part of a larger company to make sure that we can have this conference really a success for you. And so is there anything else that I can be able to do to be able to help make the conference or any other?
Well, my main concern is now that I look to our previous budget, you had reduced some of our costs that were available to us before. Now that we're going to be taking Dr. Fletcher and still having her on either a panel or in some other form, we'd have to have enough room for another speaker as well. So would I assume that if I increase the budget, it would be approved to make room for an extra speaker?
Do you see a reduction in Dr. Fletcher's pay since she's moving from keynote to a panel?
I think we would see that there would be a reduction of costs, but I do see that since Dr. Fleming is not being used in a small group, and if we use a potential new speaker, we might be increasing the amount of people that could be attending, because we'd be attracting two different types of groups, if you know what I mean. Like one that's specifically for Dr. Fleming and the panel that we'd be creating, as well as this new speaker. So I'm assuming that we would have more costs entailed, but granted, we would be able to make it up with the conference costs of confirmation.
Right. And I think that's a legitimate concern. How can you compensate for the budget? My concern is that in order for us to be able to bring the part-time person in for you, and then also to be able to increase the budget, that's something that's maybe difficult for us to be able to make sure that we get to you. And so what do you think about the following? If we bring in the part-time person and bring in Dr. Fletcher as a panel speaker, so you're able to reduce her honoraria, in order for us to be able to bring in maybe some of the other past speakers at some of the other division conferences, because we have established a rapport with them, we reasonably believe that it won't have to be a large budget speaker. That's because they've already worked with us in the past. And so if you give me that list of your 3 top
By all
speakers.
means. By all means. So then I can use your contacts in your network as my manager. Then you would be able to help me. So then we should be able to stay within our budget.
Right.
Or maybe a little bit more, but not too drastic. But once I break down the numbers again, we can discuss it further. So hopefully it'll be more in that range.
Right. And the budget reductions that I made for you wasn't just targeting you arbitrarily. It was just simply because wanting to see you succeed with the rest of our divisions, I was bringing your budget more in line with what they've been working with, because I believe that your potential indicates that you can still shine on a level playing field with everyone else. And so I believe that this could be a great opportunity for you to make the conference succeed, to be able to show corporate, but at the same time be able to do it with a budget that's still within everyone else's ballpark. So I think that would be a great plus for you.
Definitely. I thank you so much for your attention to how important this conference is to our company and how much time it is actually of my unique time. And it'll be great help to have this part-time help. Really appreciate it.
And once again, if there's any...
I will send you the 3 contacts that we could potential, and if you could just arrange for a conference call with the other divisions so we can discuss our other potential speakers, and I will definitely speak to Dr. Fletcher of how to move her from a keynote speaker to a panelist. Then we should be able to meet in the middle.
Fantastic. And so you'll be able to see from my end that decision by the end of the week regarding the approval for the budget for the speaker, and also make sure that we get the appropriate funding over to your division by beginning of next week regarding the part-time person. And so after that, I just look forward to being on the conference call so that way we're able to better facilitate the support we get.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.